Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still got a headache.
Sorry about me cussing Jesse like a dog, but fuck it, I did. That's how it is.
Thomas Gabriel got ran out of Auburn because of his wife. His wife was sleeping around with some of the players and just being a complete whore around town.
You fucking punk-ass bitch!
The Pac-12 will have 5 or 6 teams in the top 25.
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
I'm a great smack talker on the fucking face of the earth right now.
You fucking punk-ass bitch!
It makes me look like I got owned or something.
You fucking punk-ass bitch! You fucking punk-ass bitch!
I just can't believe y'all put a statue of this guy already at your campus.
I'm like Charlie Daniels. I bury my goddamn money in mason jars, motherfucker.
Hello and welcome to another galvanizing edition of the Smacking All podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with my co-host and producer, Mr. Doug Phillips.
Hello.
There you go. How you doing tonight?
Fine.
Well, good. We've got a great show planned for you tonight, this evening. We've also got some big news. As we were putting this episode together, we found out that the Florida Gators have just lost their wonderful head coach, old Sharky, Jim McElwain. Gone. First official fire of the season. Doug, let's talk about it.
The timing is a little bit odd. Right after he broke contract last week, they're definitely trying to avoid paying. I think they'll probably buy him out, but they're not going to pay. I think his buyout's $12 million.
Nah, he ain't gonna get 12.
He's not going to get that. They've already been talking to him about it. About that, he's not going to get the full buyout. So I don't know what the details.
I mean, they're in a position. I don't know exactly how his contract is worded, but are they in a position to tell him to hit the road and not pay him anything at all per his contract? Far as
they probably are. I don't think they want that kind of publicity. I think they will pay him something, but they're definitely not going to pay him $12 million.
So let's recap this though, because this has kind of been a really strange story that kind of came out of nowhere in the middle of a football season. Florida has not had the most stellar season this year, but they haven't been completely horrible yet. But apparently, as the story goes, Jim McElwain reported that he had been receiving death threats because he's been, losing some games that I guess some Florida Gator fans didn't feel that he should have lost.
Right.
When pressed on the information as far as where these death threats came from, let's get some info, let's get some screenshots,
right.
whatever.
He was supposed to report it to the police.
Yeah, absolutely supposed to report it to police. Supposed to report it, I would figure, to campus officials too,
right?
University officials. So.
Right, but none of that was done.
None of that was done. He just kind of threw it out there. We've received some death threats and just left it at that. Now, again, you know me, I love to play devil's advocate in a situation like this. Let's just suppose that old Sharky was a little, kind of worried for him and his family and this, that, and the other, and didn't come forth with the information. And probably didn't want to make a big scene about it because either A, he didn't really think that there was anything to it, or B, he was genuinely scared for his life and felt if he came forward with it, there might be some sort of retribution. Now, what's your take on that, Doug?
I'm not sure that he knew how bad that Florida really wanted to get him out of there without paying the $12 million.
Yeah.
I doubt that he ever really thought, well, gee, if I say this and I haven't followed protocol on this, am I breaking my contract? And, if he was 6-1, would this even been a discussion?
Yeah, well, if he was undefeated and leading the East somehow.
And he got a death threat, or he got a death threat because of one loss from a disgruntled fan, then no. But I don't think he thought this through.
And he used the word death threats, like plural, like he's received more than one.
Right.
Yeah, so.
He didn't follow his contract.
I'm still torn on this one. I really am, because again, I don't know exactly how his contract was worded and how.
I mean, let's face it, Florida.
How serious of a transgression this was.
Well, it's not. I mean, if he's got one loss, but Florida is looking for a way to save some cash.
So this isn't about the actual particular incident, even though that's the way it's being advertised.
No.
This is about the fact that Florida knew that it was time to go ahead and boot him out the door.
It's happening sooner than later.
He simply wasn't the guy to make it happen for them,
right.
Which, he really hasn't proven. He's, his track record there, they went to the SEC championship, 2 years?
2 years in a row, but
yeah.
I've never seen a team look as bad as they've looked and still make their championship game. I mean, Florida definitely not heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, poor Jim. Our condolences go to you and yours tonight. On the show this week, we have we've got some great stuff lined up. We're going to talk to our friend Timothy Bailey about the Bedlam coming up, the Oklahoma State game, the annual tradition over there in the Sooner State. That's actually going to be a really big matchup, and again with national championship implications. Because again, if Oklahoma State wins this game, that is a very, very good quality win. They're standing right now at one loss, if I'm correct on that.
Yes. And
Oklahoma is also in the same boat. They lost, which we thought at the time, and actually kind of
looked like a bad loss.
Yeah, it looked like a really bad loss. Iowa State is definitely not a traditional powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. They've suddenly come out of nowhere. They are currently ranked in the top 20. I believe they're at 16, is it? Or
Auburn's
little
at
lower
16.
than that. No, Auburn's at 16.
They're inside somewhere between 25 and 20, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then they're in the top 25.
Right.
But at the same time, that was not nobody. Nobody picked Iowa State to come out, especially after 2 losses, one to Iowa and the other one to Texas, a 17-7
I've got news. If this team beats West Virginia and then goes on the road and beats Oklahoma State in Stillwater, then they're going to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm talking Iowa State, top 10.
Yeah. Absolutely, because they've already beat 2 teams in the top 5 now.
Right.
And nobody saw that happen. And so apparently this Iowa State team, although we don't know if maybe at the beginning of the season they were still tightening some things up, and we're finally seeing Iowa State from here on. Then it's going to be a very interesting game. No two ways around it, because again, the road to the national championships for the Big 12 goes straight through Bedlam.
Mm-hmm. Got some other big games this week. We got LSU at Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's typically a big game. And
it used to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
I expect Alabama to continue playing like Alabama's been playing this year.
Right now, Alabama at Mississippi State looks like
the only team that can beat Alabama when Alabama's been playing at the level they're playing at is Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's typically the team that does beat them.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'm sorry. What was the other game you just mentioned?
Oh, actually, I was moving on to another week. I said Alabama at Mississippi State is shaping up to look. It looks like a more interesting game than Mississippi State.
You know, Mississippi State, Starkville's a really weird place to try to win sometimes.
It is,
particularly when there's a good game on the line.
And if Alabama LSU ends up being a typical Alabama LSU game and it's really physical, then Alabama may go and beat up a little bit.
Very true.
And they may be a little flat if they win a close game.
Very true.
Which I don't expect to happen, but I think Alabama probably wins by 17, if they have a bad day.
Another great game coming up is going to be Florida State. No, I'm just kidding.
Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State. They're pretty much done here.
Worst, changing the subject just a bit, worst undefeated team in the country, Miami or Wisconsin?
You know, Miami has done it and looked bad the whole way through, but Wisconsin literally, and we talk about the word cupcake on this show a lot. I can't think of a team that has more of a cupcake schedule than Wisconsin.
No, they look bad.
Take a look at it sometimes. It is horrid.
Yeah, I know it.
And again,
they will have to go through Ohio State or Penn State though to in the big championship game.
And that's when we're going to find out what they're really made of, and that's usually when we find out that Wisconsin is, a good solid 9-win team.
Best one-loss team in the country: Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Oklahoma.
Notre Dame, easily,
yes, yeah, absolutely,
easily.
And if they went out, they're definitely
that's not even close right now. Notre Dame has actually shocked everybody. In fact, we very early on, we had discussed Kelly being on the hot seat, and he has no intention on that seat getting any hotter. He's playing like a man possessed right now, or coaching like a man possessed.
The 2 most difficult games left on their schedule is they've got a trip to Miami, which I believe they can handle Miami.
Yeah,
but it's still on the road, and you never know. And they've got Stanford, and Stanford's got a really good running back that he's averaging about 13 yards a carry. So that could be one of those deals. You get a hot running back, that could be a deal breaker right there.
Very much so. Also on the show, we're going to be joined by the legendary John the Baptist of the Pac-12. I know he likes it when I say that about him. We've got Tiggy Domz is going head-to-head with a smacker who has already been up his ass on our little podcast chat room, Josh Arena. Gracious, what else do we got? All of the other usual shenanigans we have on the show. I hope y'all like the new theme song, by the way. I'm personally just tickled to death over it. Doug did a great job on that one, I might add. Give us some feedback on it. Tell us if you like it or not. And as always, fuck your team. And we're back here with Smacking Off. We are joined with our friend from Auburn, Mr. Gabriel Griffin, who called us up a couple weeks ago and just dropping bombs left and right. Gabriel, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, wonderful,
How are y'all
wonderful.
doing?
Oh, man, I can't complain a single bit. Of course, we were sitting here just talking off air a moment ago about the McElwain firing. The Florida Gators have said enough is enough and let him loose in what we were talking off air. I think this is the first official firing of the football season. We still got plenty of football left to play.
Yeah, I think up next is Butch Jones after that horrible loss at Kentucky. I mean, that was about like Auburn losing to Georgia last year, just how bad it was.
But, I mean, look, though, Auburn losing to Georgia, Georgia's a respectable program. It's way different than Florida losing Kentucky. And I know Kentucky's kind of a little bit up right now, but they're still fucking Kentucky, man. Come on. You know.
It felt like losing to Vandy, even though they're having a good season, just like, damn, you just lost to Vandy.
Well, and again, that kind of underscores why Butch Jones has got to go. I mean, it's.
Yeah, they had 4 turnovers in the game and still found a way to beat you. That's when you got to go.
Lost the time of possession. I mean, you know, the rest of the stats were pretty even in the game. I mean, it's just not supposed to. The Tennessee-Kentucky game is not supposed to go down like that. Even when Kentucky's having a down year, you know,
to obliterate them.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get back to your Auburn Tigers. Auburn Tigers are currently ranked right now in the AP poll 16th. Of course, we have the college playoff poll coming up very shortly.
Yeah, I want y'all's opinion on this. Now, if, let's say, in a perfect world, Auburn handles A&M, beats Georgia, let's say, by about 10, then goes on to beat Monroe and beats Bama pretty good. Now, and then beats Georgia again, is that enough credibility to get into playoff? If you know, jumping a one-loss Ohio State or, you know, getting ranked in the top 4 and getting into the playoffs.
Well, and you know, you raise a really, really good question there.
We were actually talking about this earlier.
Very same thing, and you know, it's. I mean, that's very difficult. It really is. It really depends on how the rest of the seasons play out for the people at the top. I think the only scenario that would possibly happen is if not only they won those 2 games, but they also won the SEC
but people
championship.
need to lose.
Yeah, you're gonna need to see 1 or 2 of the. At least 2 of your top 10, you know, top tier profile teams right now. You're going to have to see a couple of them slip off for Auburn to be able to make a really good case on that. Finishing strong is very important in this day and age, though, when we're talking about the playoff committee. You know, those last few games, particularly if they're against ranked teams.
You know, Ohio State finished strong in 2014 and then jumped TCU when TCU was obviously the better team. In my opinion, that year.
Yeah, they're not this year. Anyways, you do raise a very interesting point because, and it's very at that point, it's very tough. You know, because the 2 losses that Auburn's had is what LSU and Clemson. So I mean, you know,
Clemson is a little bit more. You know, okay, they lost to the defending national championship, but Clemson still hasn't been, you know, all that all that, impressive to me. So, and then losing to LSU, of course, being up by 20, that's gonna lower the stakes for.
But
Auburn,
again,
in my
as long
opinion.
as LSU continues to win, as long as Clemson somewhat stays in the conversation, which they're still hanging in there. I mean, it's really it's going to be a little bit difficult unless Auburn does win not only those 2 games but wins the SEC championship, and then they can make a very strong argument. But then you start getting some of your Pac-12 homers start running their cocksucker about, well, we need to be in 2. I'm sorry, that right there is a huge.
I'm sorry, but they are god awful. I mean,
both Georgia
Jesus
and
Christ.
Alabama should be ranked about where they're at going into those games with Auburn. So I
I think Georgia plays. I don't know, Kentucky or something. I mean, no, South Carolina. That should be I hope Carolina gives them a good fight and introduces a couple of players so Auburn can come in and have a little bit of hope.
Real quick though, I don't want to make this a whole entire Homer SEC conversation. How about Iowa State right now? Is that not the craziest damn thing?
All day. I'm like,
you brought up TCU a
where did
minute
they come
ago.
from?
Yeah. And they've beaten what, the number 2 and the number 3
and number
team?
14.
Number 14, yeah. That's crazy. Fucking Iowa State.
I mean,
they're definitely for real.
Matt Campbell, I can't think of. I think it was like Wisconsin Whitewater or some Division III team, and he went 54-1 in the little Division III league. I mean, I know it's Division III, but that's still impressive to do that. Win 54 games out of 55. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive. Any league you do, even in high school.
Yeah,
I looked them up and did a little research on them because I was just like thoroughly impressed with Iowa State.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And again, I don't think that anybody, I think, right now is kind of getting close to the time where it's funny to go back and look at some of the preseason picks and see who's actually been balling. And, there's still a couple names still in there. One name that's definitely not in there is FSU. FSU is a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
Boston College.
A lot of Florida State fans are wanting Jimbo gone. I mean, bad seasons happen, but you also got to throw in the injuries. They don't have.
They are. I mean, brutally banged up, and their stud quarterback that they were pretty much was hoping that was gonna have a Heisman campaign.
If I was FSU, I really would not fire Jimbo. He took them, won a championship 13, went undefeated 14. I mean, I know he got waxed by Oregon, but still.
Oh God, how many years have to be left on his contract at this point? He's still got to have a pretty healthy amount of years left.
Yeah,
I would figure.
I mean, I'd say at least. I'd say at least 2.
Yeah, so I and it's the same situation that Butch Jones. That's the reason they're hanging on to him. They've done the math and they've realized that hey, it's probably a good idea to go and hang on to this guy, save a few $1 million, and shit can his ass at the end of the year. Very unceremoniously. There will be no, you know how some head coaches, they finally hit that bad stretch and it's like, okay, well, it's been a good run. I'm going to go ahead and quote unquote resign.
Yeah, like
that. There won't be any of that. There will be.
He just got too old and he's like, all right, I'm done.
There will be something really nasty happen. I think they're just hanging on to him too to see if maybe there's some way that he can eke out some sort of way to salvage the season and go to a bowl. And I don't even see that happening. I don't see him going down the street to Birmingham.
I'm not seeing it. I mean, I think the Florida State game will be the game that Florida. All right, which one's going to get to the bowl game? I think that's going to be the playoff to get into the bowl game. If you ask me, because I think they both got 4 wins.
Yeah, something like that.
I think they could salvage 1 or 2 in and then play for the bowl game.
Yeah, I don't know. But what bowl?
Think about this,
you're still going to have a situation where you're going to have probably more teams from the SEC, or almost more teams. I think Missouri is going to be left out. Vandy's finally going to be left out because their season's finally playing out the way that Vandy season normally does. Derek Mason.
Yeah, it started out 3.
Derek Mason will be shopping for a job too. There. And I'm going to tell you what, there are going to be, in addition to McElwain, there's going to be a lot of really good high-profile jobs that are going to come available at the end of this year, I think.
Yeah, like Tennessee, Arkansas. And Florida, I mean, that's some pretty good jobs. But think about this, though. The state of Florida has just been unimpressive this year. I know Miami's undefeated, but they're not that good. Let's just be honest here. Miami's not that good.
Well, they're not. And again,
best,
Rick is still, trying
winning.
to. Rick is still putting his program together there. He's only been there for 2 years, and I think from where Miami came from, I mean, nobody's talked about Miami in years. I mean, it's been years.
No.
Remember when Miami used to be the freaking powerhouse in college football, and they've been pretty irrelevant now. Rick has come and worked his
1 team was
9-3, 10-2
unbelievable
magic,
how good. I think there was like 4 Hall of Famers on that one team in the NFL. Just Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but also
unbelievable.
And again, attendance has been down at Miami games too. I know that there's a picture floating around.
Game. Look how empty the stadium is.
There's a picture floating around of some away game that they played at a smaller stadium and this, that, and the other, and it kind of it exacerbated the point. But I mean, Miami fans Miami fans really, which are not really true diehard fans like you see a lot of Southeastern schools.
I've only met like 2 or 3 my whole life of true Miami fans. I mean, that's.
I used to live in Florida, so I've run into a few. They had a lot of bandwagon fans in the 80s.
Yeah. Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenShannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team.
Para mi gente, con una pasión tan fuerte. Ay, ay, ay,
ay. Well, let's get back to Auburn real quick though, because again, Gus is. Gus is about in the season where Gus usually is, and I mean, you as a member of the Auburn Nation, I mean, how do you feel about Gus's job so far?
I mean, it's really hard to Gus consistently beats the teams you should beat, like the Mississippis and Arkansas, of course. But I mean, I'm starting to hone down. All right, let's fire this man, because I mean, no one's going to knock off Saban. Let's just be honest here. See, I'd rather have an established coach when Bama's looking for a coach as a rival standpoint, because, Bama's got to go a couple of years of, rebuilding and getting used to this new coach. And now that's just me as versus Alabama. I'd rather
who's that coach? Who's the name that grabs you right now? Let's say Malzahn gets fired right along with McElwain this weekend, and we start Monday fresh with interim coaches looking for a new head coach. Who do you want to see on Auburn's?
I honestly, you're going to laugh at me, but I like Gary Patterson. I like Petrino at Louisville, but, I'm starting to jump out the Petrino train because
remember
Jet
Gate?
At Louisville.
How much stock do you put into this Malzahn to Arkansas rumor?
I mean, it's coming from, some people that I know pretty well that's, high up in the ranks of Auburn. I mean, I'm, at a percentage standpoint, I'm putting about 70%, true. He might be looking at it. He might be thinking about it because that is where he's from.
Could this be a case of him trying to get out before maybe he gets canned?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's starting to realize, okay, there's no way I'm going to beat Georgia and Alabama this year, and Georgia twice.
Yeah, consistent, 8-5 seasons, 8
But interestingly enough, like you said, what you said earlier, if Auburn was to win out and beat Alabama and Georgia and Alabama, and then Georgia again in the SEC championship game, it probably would get them into the top 4.
I mean, what is the realistic likelihood of that happening?
You can't leave out someone that just done that. Like that's.
I
know the playoff is a popularity contest, and who's doing the best at the end of the year.
Two top 4 teams.
Damn, I mean that would be impressive.
Yeah, it would.
It would be, and again, at that late in the season, it would be very hard to discredit it. And also, again, if LSU continues to win and still somehow find ways to win the games that inexplicably they're winning, and of course Clemson continues on their same trajectory, then you have a really good argument that those two losses were quote unquote quality losses, and they won exactly where they should have won when they should have won, which is at the end of the season against the number 1 and number 4 ranked team right now.
Yeah.
And then of course,
Auburn
winning your championship.
If they do that.
That's some of that sexy criteria that the committee's looking for when they're want their gang of 4.
Well, Auburn's got the hardest schedule left to do. I mean, you playing the number 1 and the number 2 team basically back to back. I'm not even going to count Monroe because that's a week off. But I mean, that's the hardest stretch. I mean, A&M. I mean, I know they got waxed by Mississippi State, but they're a decent team.
It's actually.
I mean, you can't discredit that.
It's actually worse than what you just said. They got to play the number 1 and number 2 team back to back, plus play
and then
one
beat
them again,
then beat the number 5 team. I'm gonna assume if we beat them, number 5 team in the country,
right? In a revenge game. So I mean that's
and Georgia. Just let's put that in there too. In Georgia, a revenge game. That's basically a home game for them. The Atlanta.
Which would probably be the most likely scenario because, again, Alabama, if Alabama goes in that situation undefeated, they'll only have one SEC loss. Auburn only has the one SEC loss to LSU, but they win against Alabama, so that trumps them in that
Interestingly enough, Auburn does control their own destiny because of their schedule.
Well, in past history, Auburn has not done good when we quote-unquote, control our own destiny, 2014, we lost to the A&M team we should have blown out and then got waxed by Georgia and Alabama. And then last year, same thing happened with Georgia, was 7-2, and then lost to both of them again. So that's the only reason why Auburn fans want Malzahn gone, is just due to the fact that he cannot beat Saban and Georgia.
Right.
Which, losing to Saban, that's not a bad thing because it could be worse. We could be Tennessee.
Everybody loses to Saban. That's kind of the thing to do now.
Saban, huh?
I said everybody loses to Saban now. It's kind of the thing to do. It's very popular.
Yeah, at least we don't hold up. We want Bama signs.
Yeah,
that doesn't.
Because you're going to get them no matter what, whether you like it or not. Year in and year out, you're going to get Bama. And the thing is that quite frankly,
you see the Iowa State fan hold it up. We want Bama signs.
It's
the thing that I really love about this scenario, though, if let's say the absolute unthinkable happens and Auburn shocks the college football nation, beats Georgia, then suddenly the Alabama-Auburn game finally has gotten back to a prerequisite for a national title, and that's where I want to see the Iron Bowl. I think.
I want that every year. That 2013 game, that was amazing. Like that was just classic.
Yeah, something like that. you can understand why I would have some raw feelings about that game.
Oh yeah. Hey, I got the picture signed by Chris Davis. I
don't want to shut the fuck up. Anyways,
I got a Derrick Henry autograph too, so don't feel too bad. And
okay. But but real quick though, again, so out of all of the gang that you see though, who do you think is the best fit at Auburn? You mentioned Petrino, and I like that. That's Auburn is
I want someone that cheats like Saban. I want someone that will go out and throw the money out there and just get some damn players. Let's win. That's Petrino.
Yeah.
Even though his little girlfriend got him beat up by the motorcycle gang, but still.
Do what?
Even though his little girlfriend remember when he showed up at the Sugar Bowl beat up and had that neck cast and stuff?
That was an unfortunate accident,
though. A car crash.
Yeah, that was a car crash.
There's no way that he had a wreck on the motor. So I don't see it.
What do you think happened?
I think he was had a little college girl and her little boyfriend found out, beat his ass.
You really think this?
Hey, I am 100% sure. I will bet money that didn't happen.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me that Bobby Petrino was chasing after some college coups?
Oh yeah, I guarantee it.
Do you think he has a penchant for that sort of thing?
Hey, look, if I had a couple $1 million, I'd have me about 15 of them.
College co-eds?
Oh yeah.
College co-eds are very expensive and very high maintenance. You sure you want to go that route? I say
I
aim
don't
low,
know.
man. Go to the trailer park. You get 100 trailer park girls for that kind of money.
Go to the trail park.
What is that?
Well,
What,
then you have to deal with
trailer
the
park
fat,
girls
nasty
go around
mom.
the outside? Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't really talk about the Auburn A&M game. Can you give us a prediction on that one?
Yeah, Auburn A&M. How do you see that working out? Nick
Man,
Fitzgerald
that's
is
a tricky
balling,
one
man.
because A&M is on and off.
Yeah.
And
They were
but I mean,
off
I'm
the
gonna
foot.
go
I
ahead
said
and say
Nick Fitzgerald said
Auburn
I was
whoops that
talking
ass.
Mississippi
I'm
State.
gonna go ahead and say 42-14. I
Auburn.
think Auburn pulls away late like State did.
Okay.
I was not impressed with that Kellen Mond. I was impressed with them, but I mean, I think A&M. I think Kevin Sumlin's done there.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
that
that'd
was
be
kind
another
of my
job
next
opening.
question.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you know,
another job we weren't talking about, and that's a
that's a high-profile job, man.
I think that's another job opening right there.
and a great job too.
You know, why have both of you fellas?
A&M should be the most dominant team in SC. I don't care what y'all say. A&M
No, I definitely
should
agree.
have it.
Yeah, they should
I mean, they have
definitely
the
be among the
whole
elite, the
Louisiana
upper
back
tier.
to California to recruit in. How are you not winning? I mean, that's college gold right there.
Well, you know, well, I've got both of you fellas here. I mean, you know, A&M, that's another great job right there. You know, there's a lot of really good coaches in mid-level tier programs. One of them was actually an assistant at Alabama. Last time I checked, not too terribly long ago, Lane Kiffin, who actually has Florida Atlantic.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhat viable in their
5-3.
conference, and he's itching to get the hell up out of there and actually take a real job. Do y'all see him returning to the SEC?
I've seen that name been thrown around a lot over the weekend.
Florida would be
And I
a
was
good
wondering
fit.
what
He
the
wouldn't
hell.
have very far to move.
I don't think Florida will.
I
I don't think they'll offer him a position.
I think
but-
Florida
why
wants
not?
Stoops, Bob Stoops.
I mean, take away
Did you
what
just hear the name he just threw out there?
Bob Stoops. No, Bob
For
Stoops Bob Stoops is at the house, man. He's chilling. All right, Gabriel, you can go fuck yourself now. Gabriel Griffin, everybody, let's give him a big hand.
Oh yeah, y'all go fuck yourself.
Just like the way our guys, they battled and it was back and forth. But the thing about it, one play don't beat yours. Many opportunities. The first half, we never had it going on offense and we able to get it going. And just defensively, can't allow them to rush the ball the way they did.
I was just talking about that. You know, I thought that we were ready to go. I thought, we started with energy. Obviously, our execution was not anywhere where it needed to be offensively. We missed the first two big plays, get behind them, an overthrow and a drop. You know, after starting fast with a
Got to give Ohio State, the crowd, the environment, the stadium, Coach Meyer and his team credit. Obviously, very, very good football team and tough place to come and get a win. The margin of error is very small.
Losers Corner.
Baker under center takes the knee. With 19 seconds to go. And the Sooners win for 10. Bob Stoops looking for Mike Gundy. 5 seconds. 4, 3. Win count.
We're back. We're with our dear friend Timothy Bailey again. Timothy, how are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys?
Oh, I can't complain a bit, man, for a fellow with a job. What you want to talk about tonight?
Well, we have Bedlam coming up this weekend, a little bit earlier this time of year than normal.
Now, for people that live outside the state of Oklahoma, explain what Bedlam is.
Well, Bedlam is the annual rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
Big brother and little brother.
Yeah, it's really not much of a rivalry for the guys in Crimson, but it is a big one for the guys in Orange.
Yeah,
So-
and again, it's a very big one this year because there's still a lot of talk now that Iowa State has actually showed up and beaten two top 5 teams so far this year.
Impressive. I mean,
it is.
I knew they'd be much better this year. Certainly, if you held me down and said, "Are they going to beat TCU in Oklahoma?" I would have said no chance.
Especially after losing to Iowa and kind of a lethargic game against Texas, 17-7 there.
The Iowa game was kind of fluky. They led almost the whole game there. And then
Yeah,
the
that was
Texas game,
a tight score. I think 44-41 was the final on that one.
Yeah, I went to overtime. They were winning by double digits for about 3.5 quarters in that game. The game that really slipped away from them, I think, was Texas. Their defense played so well, but their quarterback, Jacob Park, I mean, there's a reason why he decided to leave the team for a little bit of time, and you could tell his head wasn't in it in the Texas game, and it's too bad for them because, I mean, I don't think they'd ever get in, but Iowa State, they're 6-2. They could be 7-1 or 8-0. I mean, they really could be. They wouldn't get in the playoffs unless they went undefeated, so it doesn't matter.
But yeah. That kind of talk's impossible. Really, the only thing that we're proposing here is the fact that Iowa State continues to win, and kind of continues to also prop up Oklahoma in the process with that stunning loss that Oklahoma had against Iowa State.
It shows that Oklahoma didn't just lose to some random team. It wasn't as bad as Syracuse's loss, but I think I already kind of knew that when it happened.
Yeah. And so, again, both teams are still seem to be probably more so Oklahoma than Oklahoma State. But both teams are still poised to make some noise, particularly Oklahoma, who is still in a lot of people's top 5. So I don't know. Tell us about it. Break it down for us.
Well, this year's a pretty interesting one. We've seen Oklahoma State's defense play pretty well these last 2 weeks. That's kind of a concern because the Oklahoma defense has been inconsistent. They were very good in the second half against Texas Tech.
Oh, they were amazing in the whole entire Ohio State game.
Yeah, I mean,
they really honestly looked like they were playing for Natty in that one game, and they were there to win. They were there to win at all costs, and it's the transition from them, from that team that beat Ohio State in their own house, and then what we've seen against Baylor, and then obviously the Iowa State loss. I mean, it just seems like Oklahoma's been rather schizophrenic this year, particularly on defense.
Yeah, very, very much so. And sometimes the offense.
Yeah, there have been some hitches on offense, but they've been much more consistent than that defense, which came out of the gate looking like gangbusters, man.
Yeah, I think on offense, it's really just mental things. Whenever they don't score, I just don't think there's anybody that can stop that offense. In general, I mean, Baker.
The Norman Police Department, Ken.
Hey, that was the Fayetteville one. That's SEC territory.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That didn't happen at home. If that had happened at home, they would have escorted him back to his dorm, patted him on the tail, and said, "Don't do that again."
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he would have flipped him off. Fuck you, man. What's going on over there? You there?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't die. You said you were sick.
Somebody's
and I
watching
thought
some Halloween cinema at your house. We can hear it.
Yeah. What you got?
I'm sorry.
What are you watching on TV? We hear the TV in the background.
Oh, there's this place called Helltown in Ohio, and there's just a documentary about it on TV.
A place called Helltown in Ohio? It's
yeah,
funny, we're sitting here talking
weird.
about Ohio
It's a government
State.
conspiracy thing.
Really? I might check that out.
It's interesting.
I may have some videos to trade with you in that arena. We'll talk about that off air. Okay. Well, yeah. So again, break it down. What's going to have to happen in this game for either team to walk away with a victory?
For Oklahoma, it's just going to be to be consistent on defense. You're going to give up points to Oklahoma State. You're going to give up yards. It's going to happen. Same thing for Oklahoma State. You're going to have to, not turn the football over either. And I honestly think it's the same both sides. I think it's pretty simple. I don't think these teams are necessarily even talent-wise. But the experience that Oklahoma State has as a whole team is definitely impressive. And the big thing, I think, for Oklahoma State is to not let the Oklahoma offensive line absolutely take over the game. Because if they do that, then Oklahoma will just be able to run the football with Rodney Anderson and Abdul Adams. And if they do that,
because Oklahoma's going to throw the hell out of the ball. I mean, it's really. I mean, I think it's a given that Oklahoma State's defense is going to bend to Baker Mayfield's will in this game. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The Oklahoma run game is going to have to be consistent, and they're going to have to find ways to extend the game a little bit further to shut down Oklahoma State in spots, particularly that very strong passing game that they've had. There's going to be a lot of passing in this game, man. It's going to be like old, one old Steve Spurrier fun and gun.
No, one of those whack games.
Yeah, one of those whack games.
It totally could be. That's what we all thought we were going to see last year, and the Oklahoma defense really shut down Mason Rudolph last year. Maybe we'll see that again, but I just don't think it'll be quite like that the second time around. Oklahoma does really own this series. They have a stranglehold on it. They've won 12 out of the last 14 for a reason, and it's mostly because of talent. But Mike Gundy's a really good coach. Lincoln Riley's still a little unproven. He's done some good things, but he's still only in season 1.
Well, and again, he's in season 1 with the toolbox that was pretty stacked out of the gate. It's going to be interesting to see where that program's at in about 2 or 3 years when Lincoln has all of his own guys in there, his product of his recruiting, and so on and so forth. But so far so good. I mean, again, you're still able to, we'll take Kirby Smart's first year at Georgia. I mean, a lot of people can argue that they were loaded to the gills on offense and still couldn't find a way to,
Yeah, that happens a lot, though.
It does, especially when you're talking about transitions like that,
So
that was weird for them last year because their offensive line, it's pretty much the same guys, and they're playing so much better this year.
Yep.
Well, it's the same talent. The talent was there. It was about Kirby getting the guys where he wanted his guys,
And people forget that about the offensive line. The offensive line isn't about 5 stars. It's about getting a unit that gels and works together very well. And, that takes time. Whether you have talent or whether they're 3 or 5 stars. I mean, look at Wisconsin. Their offensive lines are always pretty good. Oklahoma's offensive line with 3 of the same linemen. In 2015, they struggled against Clemson. And now they're, probably the best offensive line in the country. It just takes time to gel.
So what has to happen for Oklahoma to get a spot in this CFP top 4?
Well, obviously,
by the end
Oklahoma
of the season.
State. I mean, that's first.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. I mean,
on Tuesday, if they go by the criteria of if they go by what they say is the criteria, the top 4 should be number 1 Georgia, number 2 Notre Dame, number 3 Alabama, number 4 Oklahoma, and number 5 Ohio State. If they go by their criteria, I don't think they will.
It's not going to come out like that.
Well, again, their criteria isn't it isn't something that's set in stone. It's just basically kind of suggestive guidelines. I mean, ultimately, the committee's going to do whatever the committee's going to do, no matter what. No, whoa. Okay, all right, fellas, time out. Come on, give me a second here. Fellas, pause. Just give me a second, man. Pause, give me a second. Let me pause. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about here at Smack.
We got to play with an edge this week. It's a game that, for both teams, it's about getting to the Big 12 title game. And so I said it last year, it's for all the marbles. This one, leading into the upcoming weeks, it's a very important one.
What does this game mean to you? Growing up OU fan, you get the mustache part now, and I know Twitter kind of popped off at one point this summer about it. And
no, it's just it's a highly intense game. It's the in-state rivalry. No, it's not the same as going up against Texas, but it's important for me.
In the end, I think if we got 4 one-loss teams or better out of the 4 major conferences, it's going to be pretty easy. I really don't think Penn State had a lot to complain about because just don't lose by 39.
Yeah, and again, Penn State's not completely out of it yet. They're
not. It's a long shot. I mean, they need the perfect scenario. They need Ohio State to lose to somebody.
Yep. And they need to get to the big championship game.
Or a tiebreak.
Yeah. But
and with Michigan State losing, that makes that scenario a lot better.
And it's amazing just a scant few 6 weeks, 7 weeks, does to change people's perception. Or what was that? That would have been 6 weeks now. My math's so horrible. I get hit.
Well, I actually tweeted at Booger McFarland last night, and you guys might find this interesting because he replied to me.
What did Boog say?
So I said to him, I said, I think you need to have even journalism. I said, the Oklahoma defense played very poorly in the first quarter against Texas Tech. But you guys didn't mention anything about their last 9 possessions, which, by the way, against Texas Tech, the last 9 possessions, Tech had 7 points, 231 yards, which is an average of 4.4 yards per play, which, if that was the average of Oklahoma's defense, that would be number 6 in the nation.
Yeah.
So I said, if you're going to point out that Oklahoma's defense played poorly in the first quarter, you need to also point out that they played well afterward. I know that ESPN's weird. I've never felt this way until last year with the draft with Joe Mixon and Dede Westbrook, but it's obvious that ESPN really hates the University of Oklahoma. I'm not sure if it's because Oklahoma beats SEC teams. I'm really not sure what it is. Maybe it's Bob Stoops.
Yeah, some of those little petty rivalries happen off camera. Behind the scenes, right. Somebody pisses somebody off, or somebody runs to somebody at a restaurant, says something they shouldn't say. It's such
it makes no sense. For example, when Cam Robinson, and I'm not going to get into huge detail. I know you're an Alabama fan, but when Cam Robinson
trust me,
drafted,
at this point in the season with Alabama undefeated, you're not going to hurt my feelings about anything negative about Alabama. So go right ahead.
Well, when Cam Robinson got drafted, they didn't mention anything about the allegations that happened in the previous summer or anything like that. But when Dede Westbrook got drafted, and when Joe Mixon got drafted, they played the video of the
now, to be fair, let's go ahead before we go down this rabbit hole, because I'm going to tell you what, I have some very, very strong opinions about Joe Mixon in particular. Westbrook, okay. I get it. I thought Westbrook was what? What was his offense again?
Westbrook's he has a crazy baby mom.
Yeah,
really what it is.
Yeah, but and at the same time, that was that was a personal issue with some personal drama. God knows I've been there myself. Joe Mixon, however,
that ended 3 or 4 years ago. Now, Joe Mixon, what he did was wrong.
There's no way, and that has pissed me off to no end. You don't know how many threads I've been involved in on Facebook groups where somebody has come and rushed to the aid in defense of Mixon, and that was just an unfortunate accident, this, that, and the other. Man, I don't care what the girl said to him. I don't care if she issued a racial epithet at him, which I don't believe in that sort of thing. I know I have a little bit of South in my mouth, but at the same time, I'm also a progressive 2017 male living in the United States. I try to give everybody their own thing, and racism is way outdated.
The thing about the Joe Mixon situation, that doesn't make it an exception, but the thing that's strange is, it's not a normal situation that you go to a sandwich shop and there's a drunk female harassing and attacking you. That's a weird situation. The dude just turned 18 that day, and that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Ultimately, people tried to really, really drag down Bob Stoops for suspending him for the season and seeing what happens. But people don't understand that Bob said you can transfer anywhere you want. You can stay here, but you're not guaranteed a spot back on the team. And people didn't look into the whole circumstance. What Joe did was wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if it had happened at most other programs in the United States, I don't care how much of a 5-star it was. When that video came out, I'm sorry, man. That video destroys any kind of narrative that he tried to get, and the fact that this little girl that was less than half his size hit him like a man, as he put it. There's no defense for that whatsoever. When Oklahoma fans came to his defense, en masse, I might add, yeah, it definitely caused a lot of raw feelings with a lot of other people. And they kind of felt like, the fact that Oklahoma kind of almost sold their soul to keep this devil on their crew. And again, I understand, Bob is trying to, be a teacher foremost. That's what all of these college football head coaches are, essentially, are teachers of the game.
And a lot of people, Joe's 3-second action, it was a terrible choice. But we're talking about a kid overall who's just a very good person.
And look, I'm not. He could be a fucking saint as far as I'm concerned.
Everyone deserves a second opportunity.
When we're on that level, though, and you see something that pointed, I mean, there's no. And for you to try to even, I'm not saying you in particular, I'm talking about Joe Mixon and the staff that time, so on and so forth. For them to try to spin that narrative in any way or to besmirch the little drunk girl, and I don't care if she was a felon or this, that, and the other. I know she was a fellow student there. She had a little bit of a shady history herself. But at the same time, she walked away from the situation having said or done whatever she said, walked into the place, and he should have ended it there. Said, fuck you, bitch, and just kept on walking or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't, and look, even if he did want to go ahead and walk in and give her some words and this, that, and the other, he should not have made any kind of motion that he was going to attack somebody. Because what I saw in the video, and this has been discussed ad nauseum, was him basically bow up to her male friend that kind of came to her defense that she went in there. And when she did that, she kind of freaked out. She pushed him away and this, that, and the other. And again, he could have pushed her off of him or said, nah, F you, bitch, or this, that, and the other. Whatever the case may have been, and walked away from there. But for him to hit her like he, I mean, just, I'm sorry. That's one of those things you learn on the playground when you're 8 years old.
Right.
You know.
Like I said, I totally agree. He definitely made a moral mistake. In the state of Oklahoma, though, he didn't actually break a law. He was charged. But in the state of Oklahoma...
That's the funniest thing you said this whole conversation.
Well, in the state of Oklahoma, when someone attacks you, it's like this in Oklahoma and Florida. In Oklahoma and Florida...
Stand your ground law.
Stand your ground laws don't require retreat when you're attacked. And so,
I think
Joe really wanted to.
Is Alabama a stand your ground law state, too, I think? I think they are. I can look into that, man. I got some motherfuckers I need to smack up.
Joe Mixon could have taken that to court and won really easily, but he didn't. And in the end, it's all over now. Joe's.
Wait. So you're supposing that Joe Mixon should have probably or could have went ahead and fought this in court and actually won?
Yeah, he would have easily won in court because in the stand your ground law, she was the. Do you remember the situation with Caleb Brantley right before the draft? It's very similar to that. He got completely off on all the circumstances because she attacked him. He's not required by law to retreat. So if he wanted to, he could have fought it. Now the judge did give him a deal where, if you did this amount of parole, you did this amount of community service, and you did this amount of things,
hang out with kids in hospitals
just waive
and get photo ops. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not a fan.
Well, not everyone's going to be. No one is. No one's a fan of that situation.
And again, but I mean, yeah. I mean, you just said it a moment ago, though. And I'm sure that was a thought that you just didn't have within the past few moments of us talking. I'm sure there's been a discussion before where that, a certain group of Sooner people said, yeah, Joe Mixon really, he should fight this thing a little bit harder. There's some wiggle room here.
Well, I'm just kind of an analytical type guy. I actually thought the way he handled it, just accepting a punishment, was better look for him.
El estado de la semana.
(2,866 completion yards, 22 touchdowns compared to 5 interceptions.
Fabuloso.
Yeah, but it was still a horrible look for Oklahoma because I'm sorry, I still don't see why or how they could have. And again, I hate to even be like this. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and say if there wasn't actually a video of it, or if there was like a grainy video that was kind of pulled away, or some muffled audio or something like that, okay, then yeah, we can go ahead and try to spin this thing and paint it. But when you have that clear of a video, it really is. It's about as clear as you want to get for a surveillance video.
Right, absolutely.
And there's no other way that you can justify him following her into this establishment. Basically saying what he had to say in this, that, and the other. He could have ended the situation right there. And all of the training that he had received, because I'm sure that there's a lot of in high school football programs and college football programs, there's a lot of discussion about discipline and respect and so on and so forth. Particularly when it involves males and females. You just don't hit the split tails, man. You don't.
Right. Well, and on the other end of the spectrum, if that was a male, people would say he got what he deserved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now again, if it's two guys in a situation, and one of them puts hands on the others, and yeah. But then again, the guy shouldn't have pushed somebody away. If you're going to put your hands on a man, you got to get ready to deliver.
They were both
some
wrong.
damage
In the long run.
I
I think Joe. I have a couple of friends that Joe's a really good friend with this mentally handicapped boy that I know, a friend of mine. And the kid he calls Joe calls him on his birthday. Joe invites him out to Bengals games and gives him gloves. Joe overall, like I said,
now
Joe's a good person.
Is this part of his community service still, or has he gotten all that worked out?
No, that's just a close friend that he developed a relationship with him.
I'm just teasing.
No, overall, it was a bad look for OU in general. No matter what happens with that video, even if people felt like they handled it correctly, it would have been a bad look. Yep. But ultimately, Bob Stoops, I thoroughly believe he just he felt like he deserved
do you think that Bob Stoops may have possibly, in the back of his mind, been afraid to face Joe Mixon on the opposite side of the field in a game? Do you think that may have been part of it, to have somebody snatch that person? Which, because there was a lot of programs that definitely would have shied away from him, but there are some very hungry, desperate programs that would have loved a Joe Mixon on their staff.
What would have happened, first of all, is if because Bob gave Joe the opportunity to transfer with no blocks, so he could have gone anywhere in the country. So he probably would have went to UCLA.
Yeah,
and played immediately.
Right, and Oklahoma and UCLA wouldn't have played during that span. So
yeah, true.
So to be honest, even though people are like, well, second chances are a thing, but not at Oklahoma. Well, if they just set him loose and he went somewhere else, who knows if he gets the same? Who knows if he gets the same teachings or the same, situation? The counseling, and who knows that he gets the same thing or not?
Yeah.
If he goes somewhere else.
Well, I would guess I would have to figure that Mixon is definitely learned and grown from the experience. He was a very young man when it happened, and again, we're not talking about something that happened a year ago, even though video resurfaced,
video release,
which is kind of where our conversation started about ESPN's treatment of Oklahoma players. But as far as perception, the media goes.
No matter how bad something looks on film, all you have to do is just contemplate the showers at Penn State.
Yeah,
back in the late '90s.
Yeah, that pretty much kind of cancels it blows everybody else out of the water.
Well, I would go as far as to say that Bob Stoops, truthfully, was more interested in the well-being of Joe Mixon than he was of doing what was easy. At the time, they had, if they wanted
letting a player of that caliber go wouldn't have been easy at all.
It wouldn't have been easy, but at the time, they had Keith Ford before that bad injury, and they had Samaje Perine and Alex Ross.
Mm-hmm.
So they were loaded in the backfield, and they always are.
Yeah, this is true. And all of that talent and promise, and only one fucking natty.
Yeah. Well, they don't recruit nearly as well as the SEC schools. Since Texas A&M left to the SEC, the state of Texas has been kind of gouged by SEC schools. So the recruits that Texas and OU normally got are now going to SEC schools. But
so, can we get a prediction on the Bedlam game?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's really tough because it can go plenty of different ways. I'm gonna go OU like 38 to 24, something like that. I think the defense plays a good game overall. Obviously you're not going to hold Oklahoma State out of the end zone or keep them under 300 or 400 yards passing. That's probably not going to happen. The advantage I think for OU is both lines. The Oklahoma defensive line I think has the advantage over the Oklahoma State offensive line. And, I think that the Oklahoma offensive line has a pretty clear advantage over the Oklahoma State defensive line. So I feel like for Oklahoma State to win, they're going to need Baker to be reckless and not careful.
Yeah, he's been known to have that happen before.
Yeah, he's had his moments.
Hey, we really appreciate you having you on, man. Good luck.
Yep.
Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenshannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team.
Play of the week.
Is allow the tight end to get down the middle of the field. There's no other safety.
Smack off. And we are back with an epic smack off with our frequent contributor, the John the Baptist of the Pac-12, Mr. Tiggy Domz. Yay! And he will also be speaking with tonight a man who has been dying to have a conversation with Tiggy, Mr. Josh Arena. Josh, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, gents. How we doing?
Wonderful. What do you fellas want to talk about
Fantastic.
tonight?
Hey, bro.
Football.
Yo, bro, let me get the start off, right?
Let's do it, baby. Tiggy, you have the floor.
Bro, I was fucking asleep, bro. I saw USC lost by like 35 to Notre Dame, dude. USC is no threat to Washington, bro.
Hey, let's talk about your schedule. Who on your schedule is as good as Notre Dame?
Dude,
just as simple as that.
Dude,
who on your schedule this year is Notre Dame? Because I've got it right here, my friend.
All right,
who plays at Notre Dame's caliber? Sure, not Rutgers. Isn't Montana? Fresno State's not going to do that. Colorado sure isn't doing that. The Oregon State Beavers sure the heck ain't doing that. Cal ain't doing that. You just got shellacked. Come on, 7 points against ASU. What did USC do last night? UCLA's not going to play at the caliber as Notre Dame. Neither is Oregon or Stanford, Utah, or Washington State. Mic drop.
Stanford and Washington State, bro. They're decent, right?
Okay, well,
Notre Dame, they're all right? They're all right right now, bro. They're still gonna lose like 2 or 3 games, right? Notre Dame, they're not fucking legit, bro. All right, here, bro. Hold up. Bet. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. Washington's gonna go 12-1. They're gonna be in the college football playoff, bro.
And then lose to USC.
I say right now, bro.
They're not gonna make it there. You're delusional. Who has on their schedule? Honestly, who on your schedule this year, with ASU not being the prime example, have you faced any maturation? Or maturation, I should say. Nobody has tested you guys. You guys have that side of the Mississippi. You have the most cakewalk schedule with Alabama excluded, right? So
hold up, bro. Hold up. No,
come on.
Stop.
ASU's the best defense you played, my friend, and then you put up only
USC,
7
bro. USC got hella lucky, dude. USC is lucky to even be 6-2. All right. This team's no good. They're more like a 4-4 team, bro. I hope we play USC.
All right, hold on.
Championship game.
When you gonna come with a fact
I really
and not
hope
an
we
opinion?
play you guys, dude.
When you gonna come with a fact and not an opinion? You're opinion based. if you go down and let's look at the games. We can compare them, my friend, side by side.
Let's compare them. All right, let's go.
All right, so USC, okay, they went 49-31 against a WMU team who freaking went almost undefeated.
No, you guys almost
year.
lost that game, bro. Don't even lie.
Don't get me wrong.
We
almost lost.
No good. All right,
we almost lost most of these games.
Right,
but hold on, let me make my point real quick. Go ahead. Yes, USC has had more barn burners, but would you not rather have barn burners and prove that you can face maturation and come back, fight your way back? Bro. Your team's not going to quit on you.
Bro,
outside of you shellac a bunch of teams and you play one team in Tempe and then you get your butts kicked.
Let's get this right, all right? So let's say you blow out an FCS team, right? Is that better than going down to the wire?
You know your history, USC doesn't play them, my friend.
Bro, here's the thing.
USC doesn't play them,
bro. I'm talking about the concept of maturation, right, bro? Like, bro, you're just talking like shit. You don't really know what you're talking about, right? It's clear.
You're right.
Right?
Okay.
So here's the thing. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now. All right. So USC barely beat Western Michigan. For some reason, they're still ranked really high. I don't know, right? I'm not making these rankings. All right. I ain't deciding.
You not see with their body of work from last season?
Bro, you guys lost 3 games. Dude, Sam Darnold was awful. All right, dude. I knew USC was awful.
USC has 2 losses. So, come on.
Sam Darnold was playing awful. All right, here's the thing, right?
He's played awful all season.
Hold. USC can compete with Washington if Sam Darnold plays like the Sam Darnold of last year. All right, I'll give you that.
You know what? You sound just like everybody else who said this true freshman is not gonna come in here. This true freshman, what's he know? It's Seattle, baby. It's the night. We're on prime time. And then what happened? Just like Ohio State fans said when Matt Barkley went here into the 614 and beat them and their superstar. What happened?
Bro,
you're not saying any facts here. What happened? You guys were ranked. What was Washington ranked last year? USC was 20th. That win catapulted them forward on what they did.
Bro. Okay, look. So you beat us one time last year. No one cares, dude. Look, dude, if we had played in a championship game, dude, we would have killed you guys, all right? Look, you guys are no good, all right? This year, you're no good. You're all injured, all right? You're not going to do it.
I'm not denying that. I got the whole list right here.
Bro, like, I don't know what you guys are doing, all right? You guys schedule no bye weeks. You guys just act like you're in the Pac-12 championship game. Schedule your bye week for the week before the championship game. Totally stupid. That's the reason you lost to Notre Dame, all right? You guys think you're so good, you can just run through the season.
So then what was the reason for us shellacking Notre Dame last year? With a true freshman again.
Notre Dame was garbage. Notre Dame was garbage, bro. Notre Dame was absolute garbage.
Okay, so then let's look at SC this year. I will proudly admit it. I'm not being a homer like you. SC has 14 players out. Hell, right now, actually, I'll flat out say this. Sam Darnold right now is considered possibly injured with an ankle.
Right,
ankle injury.
That's excuse, right? That's excuse.
No, it's not. He's still gonna fucking play.
Look that bad. Look, bro. Here's the thing, right? USC's okay, but like once again, they're like an 8-4 team. They're a fringe top 25, bro. They're not a legit threat to watch.
Bro, you haven't given me a chance to actually tell you how much I think my team looks like a JV team. But still, they've proven themselves before against you.
Where?
And how are you going to weigh apples to oranges? It's simple head to head. You lost to Arizona State in Tempe. There's no we. I didn't play for the team. I only went there. And then they went a few weeks later to the same venue where you lost at, and they put on a clinic of a show.
All right, well, that's
so you can say what you want.
Here's the thing. No, here's the thing, right? I was surprised when USC went there and they blew them out. All right, I was surprised. You know why?
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Hey, bro. Once I'll admit that, right? Sam Darnold, he looked good that game. Can you continue that up? I don't know, right? But look,
bro, he got another
when
interception.
we played Arizona State, look, we got so unlucky, man. When we played Arizona State, like Arizona State was not the better team. I think we can all admit that.
How many USC games do you want to talk about luck? How many USC games do you really watch?
Bro, I don't watch USC. USC's
all right then. So you're going to prove you know what you're talking about because they get fucked. I don't know if I can swear, and I apologize if I can't. But it's always them again, a team against the refs. They always lead the Pac-12 in penalties, retardation. Did you even see last night? They weren't even on the field. Like both teams, I was over here screaming at like 1 o'clock in the freaking morning here in Ohio. Like, freaking Helton's the only one on the sideline looking at the freaking the head referee. Like, can I go to the effing locker room? You know what I mean? Like the bands are running on the field. It's retarded, and I'll admit it. But SC looks like a JV team. That's why the athletic director is going to change this stuff, but nothing you're going to say is factually based. On paper, yes, Washington is sexier, man. Ribbed for her pleasure. I'll give you that one. But you don't have the better quarterback. But what you do have, and I will give you this one, man. We can pull them out and measure them, and you're going to win on this one. Is your quarterback, as of right now, isn't showing like he's in a sophomore slump. He's not in a sophomore slump. Sam Darnold is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. freaking Hyde over here. But still, SC is the one team that's going to beat you. Because if they don't, they're going to lose their coach. You obviously aren't aware of the culture down there.
He's not a good coach. He's not a good coach.
You're telling me. But the players love fired, dude. I'm telling you right now. Where'd you get your info from? Because I would like to know. Because I advocate that move. But then what's that going to do? It's going to turn SC into Florida. Who wants to go to Florida? And now coach.
Here's the difference. Florida is in the SEC where Saban coaches, all right? In the Pac-12, bro, the Pac-12's open, right? Like, all right, you take a job in the Pac-12, it's not death sentence, all right? Especially at USC, that's one of the biggest programs.
No,
right?
this is true. Florida, what he's saying is true.
Florida is like what? An average SEC, maybe above average. I mean, you look at Alabama, Auburn. Those are
right now, the SEC with Nick Saban is exactly what the Pac-12 and your Washington team is then what the SEC is now. The SEC now is Alabama and its bitches. Then Pac-12 was the same way. And where was Washington before Peterson?
Bruh, that's back when the Pac-10 happened. Look,
I'm just saying. You're making cases for me over here, my friend.
Ever since the Pac-12 got created, USC has never won a conference title. You guys, I don't even think you guys have won a division title, all right? You guys are a joke, all right? No one takes USC seriously anymore. It's not 2005. Reggie Bush is not there anymore.
Hey.
You guys have no good coach, all right?
USC you got to bang Kim Kardashian.
You guys are done, all right? You guys may as well retire the program.
Yeah, Reggie Bush.
Washington's in charge.
Yeah, he got to bang Kim Kardashian.
I'm going to say the same to you that I say to Alabama fans all the time. When are you going to come with a fact and not an opinion? Because if everybody takes SC as a joke, why did they have the number 5 recruiting class last year? Why did they always have the number 1 recruiting class in the conference?
What is Southern California? That is an easy place to draw young men to. Come on now. No, whoa. Okay, all right, fellas, time out. Come on, give me a second here. Fellas, pause. Just give me a second, man. Pause. Pause. Give me a second. Let me pause. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about here at Smack Talk.
Thank you. It still doesn't matter. If he's still stating that everyone thinks USC is a joke, and don't get me wrong, man, I'm saying it right now. They are overhyped as hell. only because everybody wants to fall in love with the next it guy. You could find some kid wearing freaking skinny jeans and I could rap, yo, I'm the next quarterback, and ESPN's going to jump on him. Right, so they jumped on that one. Other than that, what is your point here?
All right,
USC, they're coming off of sanctions, man. Too. I'm not trying to make excuses for that.
Bro,
but
it's been a decade, dude. It's been a decade. You guys have been off sanctions for a while, all right? You guys
2 years is not a
number
while.
One team. Look, bro.
2 years is not a while. How long does it take a coach to recruit and get his class or his team to the caliber with his players? Ask Charlie Strong this one.
You guys had the talent.
Ask Charlie Strong that one.
Back in 2012, you guys were a number 1 ranked team. All right, let's don't act like you guys are just
because of recruiting and how they finished the season. A sanctioned team with 65 players went and won 10 games. Of course, just like in the last year, they came out with 3 losses and looked like the best effing team in the country. Now, do I think if SC would have went back and played Alabama, would they have won? Hell no. I spent the money like a fool, went to Arlington and got a travel agent and did all that crap to go and sit in this freaking stadium and pay $12 for a dang 12-ounce beer to watch USC get bent over.
He got a skybox.
And then they I wish that would have been great.
No, we're talking about Snoop.
But
no,
you know
Snoop,
what I mean?
Snoop
Like a Family Guy,
thing.
when he pulls the car in, he backs it out of the cage and pulls it in. That's how that game felt. Oh my God! And then the fly back, I just but still, I'm just saying. They're rebuilding. You're clowning a team, okay? Peterson came in off a recruiting class that Sarkisian left him. A quarterback that was recruited by Sarkisian. He came into a program. Anybody who would have went to Boise after him got gold, my friend. Okay? And who did Helton come into? A sanctioned team. I'm not making excuses. It is what it is. They had that.
Are you really trying to say Helton got a worse situation than Peterson, bro? Hold up.
Well, no, of course not, because he gets better players, hands down, regardless.
Bro. Dude,
so, of course, you're going to get that, but he still only had a 65-man roster. He still had majority of the dang team injured. That's why everybody and their mom, including UCLA, knew, okay, all I got to do is pull a Chip Kelly and run fast at them and wear them out, because come the second half, they're gassed. And then we can do whatever we want, and we can play the 3rd and 4th string and embarrass the Trojans. And then, like I told all these Duck fans, wait until SC has a full roster, and then what happens? And then last year, Oregon fans found out again.
Bro,
and it's not even a good SC team.
Wow, you're bragging about beating an Oregon team that's absolute garbage, bro. Look, dude.
I didn't say they were good. Man, do we need to rewind this so you can, totally comprehend what I'm saying?
You're bragging about beating Oregon, dude. Just stop, dude. Look, all right, just admit it, bro. We have the best coach in the Pac-12, all right? Look, dude. Peterson, okay.
Has he won a title?
He's all right.
Has he brought a title there?
I don't remember any.
He did try it.
Exactly.
He did play for one last year.
So until he brings a title there,
you can't argue that he at least took his team to the playoffs
USC,
and lost 24-7
until he starts
to the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Bumping Stanford on a regular basis. Stanford has the best coach in the Pac-12, my friend.
Bro, nah, dude.
Okay, since SC's been sanctioned, people have been talking about Stanford more than they've been talking about SC. And they've only the past 2 years been talking about UW.
Bro, look,
so,
Stanford, they're consistently an average-ass top 25 team.
Of course. That just shows
they're
the mediocrity of the Pac-12.
But, look, no. But here's the problem with Stanford, right? They're never going to be a national championship contender, all right? Let's just be honest, right? Washington is the only chance the Pac-12 has nowadays that be, the national champion. And the problem is that, we have teams like Arizona State, these annoying ass, they're irrelevant teams, but they're, somewhat decent, and then they fucking play they play their ass off against us.
Bro, you're talking to a USC fan whose teams are supposed to dominate on paper by 1 million, go to Corvallis on an effing Thursday night, and get handed 38. Talking to a team that had, you know what I mean, Matt Barkley, Robert Woods, freaking Joe McKnight. They got talent.
R.I.P. Joe McKnight.
I'm going to Corvallis, and I'm over here on Halloween shit, USC's going to freaking lose tonight. So, who you talking to, my friend? But this is about between the two programs, Washington and USC. And it's no matter what you say, we can live in the past, we can take it forward. Until Washington adds a lot more titles and a lot more Heismans and a lot more conference championships, it doesn't matter, because you beat USC this year, you get USC next year, you get a junior Sam Darnold, you get a freshman recruiting class from this year who have a whole nother summer, and player run practices to work with them, and they're going to do exactly what happened with Juju Smith and Adoree Jackson and then last year. They're going to get better, and they're going to be the team again.
Hey, Josh.
So let me guess, bro. Let me guess, dude. You guys are going to finish like, bro, you guys are going to finish like bottom of the top 25, or maybe even not even ranked, right? Like, you guys don't look like a ranked team to me. But okay, let's say you guys are probably going to finish around that rank. All right, and then you guys are gonna be ranked high again next year. All right, there's gonna be a ton of hype about USC, and you guys are gonna fail again, as usual. It's like the same process.
And why is that?
Over and over and over and over and over. Look, dude, here's the thing, right? USC, all right, you guys had your time, you guys had your history. That's great. I'm not here to talk about history, but right now, Washington's future much better than USC's future. Washington's season this year,
where's your facts
playoff chance. USC has no.
Well, they do play a much easier schedule. To be fair,
where's the facts in that though, man? Like you're spewing your opinionated bias on that.
It's not opinionated, so bro. Tell me right now how USC has a chance to win the college football playoff. Tell me how you guys can make the college football playoff. You guys have no chance.
Let's ask our host here. Since you're saying the future is Washington, all right, let's step out of the box here. Let's ask our host here. Who's gonna pull? If you were to think about it quickly, rapid fire. Who's going to have the better recruiting class, USC or Washington?
I mean, if we're pressed on that, I would
USC.
I would say USC.
It'll be USC.
Traditionally,
yeah,
exactly. Okay.
Look at Chris Peterson at Oregon State, bro.
But fellas, I do have to point this one thing out though before we say anything else. Hang on, just 1 second. Before we say anything else, there have been so many programs recently that have proven that a top 10 recruiting class or a high-powered recruiting class doesn't always automatically equal success. All that does is equal.
Of course not. Look at what Kelly did
in the
with
preseason,
2 and 3 stars at Oregon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But he's saying the future is not USC. The future is Washington, and it's okay. So the same thing that bro. Hold on, home slice. The same thing I told Oregon fans, and it's where they sit now. When they had Michael James got a transfer because of sanctions and got to start right away. And all right, so 125 years of a program, they get gaffed on because they have 0 titles and they flaunt that damn O. So when you tell them, okay, so while you guys were in the pinnacle of what you could do, and when I even called it and said Ohio State's going to bully you and I made a bunch of money on that freaking game, where are you at in recruiting? Helfrich can't recruit. Recruiting is your future. So no matter what you say, and he made a good point, it has been proven that, you know what I mean? Like, look at now. You can argue that with USC. Come on, man. They got Jack Sears, and they got 3 5-star quarterbacks, and USC's looking mediocre. If you see my tweets and stuff, I'm calling my own alma mater a freaking JV
what happened to Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold was supposed to be like the premier 100%.
That's what I'm saying. He comes out like the Notre Dame game. Oh, my God. Who fumbles on the first effing play of the game? And then he does the same kind of crap last night. So I'm over here about to throw a beer through the big screen. Like, if this is like the Notre Dame game, what the heck? And then all of a sudden he just stands there like a statue and composed, and he comes out and they get it. Where the heck is this team? Right this is sort of like the team that played Stanford. Man, I'm telling you.
He'll fit right into Browns, dude. He'll fit right into
I'm giving you all the credit in the world that UW is. I'm not saying UW is the next Oregon State. I'm never going to say that. Like, Peterson, come on, man. That dude is where he is. Gets paid what he gets paid to be in Seattle. The only other program everybody cares about next to the Seahawks because of his body of work. All right. But still, you know what I mean? You can look at SC before Pete Carroll got out there, they were a joke. Before Saban got to Alabama when they were coming off sanctions, they were a joke. But still, they've been able to come back and put together a body of work and get to the title game and win one or almost. If USC had never gotten sanctioned, you got to raise this question unbiasedly, okay? Because 2006, they looked like crap, and Pete Carroll was kind of, and there was rumors, so before sanctions. But would he have been able to three-peat? And if they three-peat, would Alabama be Alabama?
Each week, Smacking Off presents our Life Championship. This week's Life Championship brought to you by Bad Month Tires. You don't have the swag for Goodyear, so aim for the middle with Bad Month Tires, the most economical tire money can buy.
The Butch Jones Annual Life Championship Top 10.
10. NC State. 9. Texas A&M. 8. LSU. 7. Washington. 6. Auburn. 5. Texas. 4. Miami. 3. Oklahoma State. 2. Michigan. 1. USC.
In trouble, just shovels it forward, incomplete. He's trying to climb up in the pocket, and his knee was down. No question about it. And that should do it. The USC Trojans win it 26-13.
Would Meyer actually come back from having a heart attack? You know what I mean? Like,
bro, exactly. The SEC.
I asked this question, but until Washington does it, my friend, just like you can tell Oregon fans, and just like you can tell people at Stanford, until you bring titles, you weren't squat. And there's one team. Now, granted, if they didn't win last night, if they don't win the Pac-12 South, it'd have been a decade since SC's brought a title in.
I think SC will.
You know how retarded that sounds?
I think SC will win the South.
Oh, I agree.
Really do.
Unless Darnold comes out and does Darnold things again. I'm telling you, man, literally.
Or which Darnold comes out.
I don't really think Washington can beat SC.
Dude, I almost wanted to, like, now, being a grown man, I don't want to dress up for Halloween, but I thought about wearing a Sam Darnold jersey and a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde jersey because you don't know what you're going to freaking get. And I will be honest with you, man. If you put this SE team up like they do with those stupid superhero battles on YouTube or whatever 1,000 times, I think Washington and this team would destroy USC. I'll give you that. But you know what? The great thing about football is, I don't know if you played, but usually it comes down to whoever's better that day.
Yeah.
And last year, USC proved as the underdogs with a true freshman that they were better that day in your house. If they play in the Pac-12 championship, where is it at? It's in California. How far is it from Los Angeles? Hey, I grew up there. I can tell you right now, it is about a 6-hour bus ride. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to listen to their hip-hop music and have fun and beat SC the whole way there because it's pretty much a damn home game. Why don't you ask Ohio State about coming to California and playing the bowl game? You know what I mean? The best team that freaking day. So it's up in the air, my friend. And you coming out, the only stain on your schedule is that 13-7 loss to Arizona State. And then if USC went in there and didn't even put up 7, you can say here and flex, we're the best. Unequivocally, hands down. You dub, baby. Yeah, we can put the puppy pads away because we're not going to pee on ourselves. But you put up 7 points when USC went in there and hung up 49. So, I mean, head-to-head, man. Head-to-head. USC
I
takes
don't know.
the kick.
I've got a theory about that. I do have a theory about that because Arizona State, a lot of people don't. I don't think this is widely circulated knowledge, but Arizona State pretty much produces more porn stars and more girls that participate in porn than just about any other university in America. It's a true story.
Honestly,
I'm not either because Google like hot chicks in college football jerseys and bam, Arizona State girls.
Arizona State girls. I mean, and it was like it's like girls if they want to really get a good foothold into the porn industry, they seem to go to Arizona State and get to chit chatting with the girls out there. And, oh yeah, you need to hook up with this old pervy guy out in California, give you $50,000 and you do all anal whatever. So, you know, I think that's probably where you saw that loss come in, where, you know, the guys went down there and, you know, university kind of made sure that some of those girls were hanging around, you know, to keep those boys active.
Honestly, in my opinion, unbiasedly, this isn't me coming as an SC guy. That's them pulling an SC and cannibalizing themselves. Come on, man. That ASU game is your stereo quintessential USC on a Thursday night against Oregon State.
I think they got fucked out the night before. I think that's what it was. I think they
come on,
some of those Arizona State girls got a hold of them.
These guys should blow the doors off these guys. Man, who bought a Formula One car against a Pinto? And then you guys go out there and just like decide to drink the Kool-Aid and listen to Dr. Kevorkian, and you leave Tempe looking.
Dude, once again, bro. Yeah. Are you there? Just cut off. But, bro, look.
I think he lost there. I think he drank some of that Kool-Aid.
All Bro, all right. While he's
still here.
MIA, dude, I'm just gonna say right now, dude, like Arizona State, bro, that was bad. All right, look, there's no reason. Look, dude, if we're gonna be beaten by Arizona State, like I really don't think that there's any justification. But if they're gonna beat us, then at least beat us through your offense, right? Like they have a decent quarterback. They have like a wide receiver who's to be a first round pick. All right, they have a running back who broke the FBS record for most touchdowns in one game, right? So if they're going to beat us, then beat us through your offense, right? There's no reason their defense, which gives up like 30 points a game to each person. There's to each team. There's no reason that defense should be, stopping Washington. All right, we have like a very, I'm not going to say like our offense are a strong point, but look, we have a fluid offense, all right? It's not like a bad offense. And the fact that Arizona State just stopped us, I think that's just proof that luck happens in football sometimes, right? Look, all right, because they brought a totally new defensive scheme, all right? Because they usually, I guess I heard that they usually blitz people, they send heavy blitz packages, but against us, they were dropping back in coverage, and we weren't ready for it. We didn't adjust to it, and we took the L. That was bad, right? But I still think that loss doesn't really mean Washington's bad though. Just because we lost one game, right? That doesn't mean anything.
Josh, are you back with us? Can you hear us, Josh? I think we've lost Josh for good.
I think Josh is done for today.
Josh has. I think he completely. Just imploded on all of this. Just mad Pac-12. Conversation. Tiggy, we really appreciate it. Josh, we really appreciate you. And please come back to the show, both of you fellas.
Peace, bro.